Good morning, everyone. First of all, great talk right before me on regulation. I think that's very, very important for everyone to understand how important it is. There were some points made about the vagueness of regulation. Very few of you know who I am. My name is Dmitry Dane. I'm an advisor to World of Wi-Fi, but I also was intimately involved in regulation in the United States, particularly from the Treasury that came down in 2013. So those vague things were indeed pushed by the crypto community as it existed at the time. And I think we did an excellent job promoting innovation at the same time without stifling it. I think all of you are here. We're at a $500 billion valuation because of regulators not putting down the hammer back in 2013, because they allowed Coinbase to exist in the United States and allowing them to flourish, even though when they started, they were quite illegal. Just like PayPal. So that's important. It's very, I think this is the right kind of tack that we've been taking, and I think that will continue. So kind of what we see from China, this is the third time they banned something. They will unban it soon enough, simply because they want to be participating in this market. If they don't do ICOs, the future of how we do investments generally around the world, in my perspective, then they will simply not be participating in the global economy. Make no mistake, this is how we will do business globally going forward. This is how smart contracts will be the governing body of business. To that extent, let's talk about World Wi-Fi just for a few minutes. So World Wi-Fi kind of was an exciting project for me. I've been in crypto, as you probably can imagine, very early on. But I also was in Wi-Fi even earlier. And it was sort of a passion project of mine. I saw Wi-Fi and I saw these guys doing this, and really promoting Wi-Fi is very, very important for me. I was working at Lucent. It was my first job, working on 802.11 back before even 802.11b. And I thought World of Wi-Fi we never solved this problem that you see on the screen. And we never solved it for a variety of reasons. Everyone is very concerned about their privacy, very concerned about their security, but generally there is a big mismatch between the number of networks available and the number of networks you can join. And we want to solve that. We want to solve that particularly in the countries that are disadvantaged from the infrastructure perspective. It's not a problem that exists in the United States. It's not a problem that exists here in the UK. We all have 4G LTE. It works great. We're all going to get 5G LTE, and we're all comfortable paying $50 a month for that, or $100 depending on whether you want to limit it or not, or something about that. That's not something that's going to happen in Central Asia. That's not something affordable in those countries. It's not something that's going to happen in Africa. So there's got to be a different way to handle this. And the clicker, oh wait, there we are, is lagging. So here's where we are today. There are about 320 million access points out there. Very few of them accessible, or about 12 million. So we want to incentivize all those owners to make the networks both private for themselves and at the same time open it up to someone else to join. That's something that's interesting for a lot of storefront owners. It's something interesting if you have coffee shops, retail spaces, but it's also interesting for communities where there may be only one access point for the entire street. They want some way to be able to share it among multiple people, but at the same time kind of defer the costs across multiple kind of users. So we want to give them that capability. There are a couple of ways of doing it. There is an obvious way, hey, you can do it via advertising. There is another obvious way, hey, you can get people to pay you a little bit for it. Really, the business models there are quite well understood. The question is, how do we allow them to work with a system where sending money to each other is kind of complicated. So obviously we want to give them tokens. So it's another application of taking an existing infrastructure such as Wi-Fi, opening up, making it tokenized, and deploying it to as many places around the world as we possibly can, as quickly as we can, kind of creating a platform. It is interesting for advertisers because we know the precise location of each access point. We also know what kind of access point it may be. Maybe it's a storefront, maybe it's a retail location, and specifically what kind of retail location, maybe it's a home. And because of that, the targeted advertising is very effective and quite expensive. So one of the obvious business models is, of course, allowing someone to join the network, see a quick ad, and after that, join the network, kind of for a predetermined period of time. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's half an hour. We want to give that kind of power to the users. So we are an operating company today. We have 14,000 access points, primarily in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. It's called Radius Wi-Fi. And we do have an advertising network attached to it, and we know that the economics of the entire concept are kind of working quite well. So we want to scale it. This is roughly how it all works. And really, on this slide is, without the blockchain, it's very hard to make this happen, but you can. Blockchain really allows us to simplify things both for our users, and particularly the router owners who are deploying this, as well as for advertisers, because there's a lot of click fraud and things like that happening. So on both sides we need security, on both sides we need intermediation of data, and blockchain lets us do that. So it's really one of the applications of blockchain, more so than particularly the tokenization. The referral program, obviously, we want to scale this as quickly as we can. Again, tokens make it much easier for us to deploy this. It becomes very lightweight. And it's a win-win. We want to deploy as many Wi-Fi access points out there as quickly as possible. Router owners want to monetize the particular locations that they may have, especially in the developing countries. And we want to get internet to the other 5 billion people. And there are multiple ways of doing that. You can, as you guys know, probably around 2 billion right now have internet, 5 or so, maybe a little more, don't. And how do we get there? This is one of the ways we get there, right? Wi-Fi is very, very inexpensive, and it scales pretty well. It isn't the best way or fastest way. Probably there are other ways to do it. Certainly we know blimps don't work. We've been trying that for many years at Facebook and Google. But Wi-Fi works pretty well. We started with Wi-Fi in a lot of locations here. Many of you probably connected to Wi-Fi before they connected to a data cellular network. So we know the progression. That works. So we want to kind of accelerate it for the other people. Pre-sale is active now. I think there are 40 days or so. We have a good team, great team actually. It is an operating company, so which is probably the most important thing to say here. We know all the steps we have to go through, from the router, how to create the router, how to kind of deploy it at scale, who specifically is particularly interested in it early on, and then how to scale it. So a few more team members out there, and that's it. Thank you very much. Hopefully this was interesting to you, and looking forward to your questions. Thanks.